What social class would you say you're in? Are you in the high class, middle class, or low class? Society has been broken into these three groups, low, middle, or high, for a long time, and immediately creates assumptions about a person. Social class can be defined as a division of a society based on social and economic stats. Essentially, to separate the rich from the poor, or the uneducated from the educated. Classifying people into these categories can create false assumptions about a person without actually even knowing them. It can also create inequality for basic needs, such as health, services, and can create social exclusion. In The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, a novel about teenagers living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1967, audiences see the social class throughout the book. This is shown often between the greasers and the socias. They are explained as the higher class and the lower class, the greasers as the lower class, in poverty and tough, and the socias as the higher class, West Side rich kids. These two groups are rivals and hate each other throughout the book, even though they never took time to actually get to know each other. Their rift was based upon the assumptions of their class. They only go off what they are told and what they see. Their assumptions of each other are that the upper class kids are spoiled rich kids that get whatever they want and never have any problems, whereas the lower class kids are broke dirty kids that are always in trouble. The protagonist, Ponyboy, from the lower class, discovers throughout the book that socias are humans, just like the greasers after he meets Cherry Valance. In the 1970s, America had a blatant issue of social class as they had so much inequality in income. Beginning in the 1970s, economic growth slowed and the income gap widened between the higher class and the middle class and the lower class. Income growth for households in the middle and lower parts of the distribution slowed, while incomes in the upper class continue to grow strongly. Australia in the current day, there is still very much social class shown in income inequality. The differences between the average incomes of low, middle, and high income households in Australia are large, as in a household that falls in the highest 20% income has more than twice the average income of the middle 20% income group and 6 times as much as someone in the lowest 20% income group. This shows that throughout the time not much has changed from 1970s America to the now day in Australia, but the current day has consistent gaps between classes, as the 1970s split out into really high and really low income. S.E. Hinton, the author, was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1950, and through her own experience of social class in America, was inspired to write the book, The Outsiders. When she was a junior in high school, she didn't like the idea of social class at her school and lack of realistic fiction for high school. S.E. Hinton wanted the reader to understand that wealth, social class, and education do not define who you are, and that although you may be very different in that way, you may be very similar in others. There is much evidence that social class is an issue, and it has been shown throughout the whole book. For example, the characters were all divided into two groups, greasers and socias, and they have a heated rivalry throughout the book and always hate each other because of what their group assumes about the other group. Some quotes to support this are, Ponyboy says, "No rival gangs, only socias, and you can't win against them, no matter how hard you try, because they've got all the breaks, and even whipping them isn't going to change that fact." Ponyboy also tells us that it is too vast a problem to be just a personal thing. There should be some help. Someone should tell them before it is too late. Someone should tell their side of the story, and maybe people would understand then and wouldn't be so quick to judge a boy by the amount of hair oil he wore. I don't think society will ever get rid of these classifications, as they do categorize people, economic position. However, I do believe that the assumptions linked to these social classes are slowly vanishing, and one day we will not be so quick to judge a book by its cover.